In today's news, Netanyahu faces an ICC arrest warrant, alleged coup plotters go on trial in Germany, and rebel violence is on the rise in Colombia. From TLDR News, this is your daily briefing for Tuesday the 21st of May, 2024. The International Criminal Court's chief prosecutor, Karim Khan, has applied for arrest warrants to be issued against Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in a major intervention that sets the ICC on a likely collision course with Israel and the United States. Specifically, Prosecutor Khan has requested arrest warrants for 2 Israelis, Netanyahu and his defense minister Yoav Gallant, and 3 Hamas leaders, Yahya Sinwar, Hamas's leader in Gaza, Mohammed Deif, head of Hamas's military wing, and Ismail Haniyeh, head of Hamas's political bureau. The prosecutor accuses Netanyahu and Gallant of war crimes and crimes against humanity in Gaza, including the starvation of civilians, willful causing of great suffering, cruel treatment, willful killing, murder, intentional attacks against civilians, persecution, and more, from at least the 8th of October 2023. Meanwhile, he accuses the Hamas leaders of war crimes and crimes against humanity both in Israeli and Palestinian territories, including extermination, murder, taking hostages, rape and sexual violence, torture, cruel treatment, and more, from at least the 7th of October 2023. The prosecutor's request for arrest warrants will now be considered by a pre-trial panel of 3 ICC judges, who will make the decision on whether or not to issue them. Israel is not a party to the International Criminal Court and rejects its jurisdiction, and as such has furiously responded to the prosecutor's request for arrest warrants, with Netanyahu himself calling it a moral outrage of historic proportions. The US, which is also not a member of the ICC and already had a hostile position towards it even before this latest news, reacted similarly. President Biden has called the move outrageous, adding that whatever this prosecutor might imply, there is no equivalence, none, between Israel and Hamas. We will always stand with Israel against threats to its security. ICC prosecutor Karim Khan, who was elected to the position having been nominated by the British government in 2021, defended his office from criticism, saying nobody is above the law. It's not clear yet exactly how the US and Israel will actively respond to the ICC's move, but Republican lawmakers in the US Congress have threatened to bring forward legislation to impose sanctions on the court and its officials. House Speaker Mike Johnson said, Congress is reviewing all options, including sanctions, to punish the ICC and ensure its leadership faces consequences if they proceed. Nevertheless, if the prosecutor's request for warrants are approved, then it will create significant complications, particularly for Netanyahu and Gallant, as the court's 124 member states, which includes almost all of Europe, Latin America, and much of Africa, would be obligated to arrest the suspects if they set foot on their territory. There's a whole lot more to be said about this story, so we have a full video coming out on the TLDR Global channel on Wednesday that you should keep an eye out for. There's more on the way, but remember to subscribe and ring the bell for more daily briefing tomorrow. Plus, if you want to support the channel like Gustav Svan, then consider joining the new TLDR membership program for just $1.99. In Frankfurt this morning, 9 participants of an alleged coup plot to overthrow the German government began their trial, part of one of the biggest and most complex cases in Germany's post-war history. The indictment is over 600 pages long, and the case will involve 5 judges and 2 substitutes, 25 defense lawyers, and 260 witnesses. A related trial began in Stuttgart last month, while another will begin in Munich on June the 18th. To give you some background to this, the suspects are part of the far-right Reichsbürger, or Citizens of the Realm movement, which believes that the German Empire of 1871 still exists. They reject the laws and institutions of the modern German state, and are said to issue their own passports. The suspects were arrested in December 2022, and are accused of plotting a, quote, highly treasonous enterprise and preparing for a Day X, when they would storm the Reichstag building in Berlin, arrest MPs, and bring down the country's democratic system. The group's ringleader, who is currently on trial in Frankfurt, is a 72-year-old real estate developer and member of the German aristocracy known as Heinrich XIII Prince Reuss. Reus's hunting lodge was allegedly used to stockpile weapons, with prosecutors saying that the Reuss Group had about €500,000 at its disposal, plus a huge arsenal including 380 firearms, 350 bladed weapons, and 148,000 rounds of ammunition. According to prosecutors, the group had also already agreed roles for a post-coup government, with Reuss earmarked to be head of state and former AfD politician and ex-judge Birgit Malsack-Winkermann to run the Justice Ministry. It's a really fascinating case anyway, and we'll be sure to bring you any future updates when they happen. Violence is on the rise in parts of Colombia as rebel groups carried out several attacks after peace talks with the government fell apart in recent months. 2 police officers were killed in a bomb blast in the city of Morales on Monday, while several people were injured during an attack in the city of Jamundí, the latest in a series of attacks. The Colombian government has attributed the attacks to the EMC rebel group, which is made up of dissidents who broke away from the FARC group after it signed a 2016 peace deal with the government. Colombian President Gustavo Petro, who came into office in 2022, has been trying to build on this peace deal by pursuing a policy of total peace, which aims to fully end Colombia's decades-long civil conflict by striking deals with the remaining groups. However, a split last month within the EMC saw more than half the rebel group's regional blocs walk away from talks with the government. In March, citing various EMC factions' non-compliance with the ceasefire, the Colombian government said that the military would resume offensive actions against the rebels in certain departments, whilst the truce would remain in force in other regions. In other news today, Finland's government has introduced a draft law that allows it to stop migrants on its eastern border with Russia, in what the Nordic country says could be a model for a European-wide solution to curbing asylum seeker numbers. This new bill comes after Finland has accused Russia of instrumentalizing migration as a weapon against Helsinki and Brussels by pushing migrants across European borders. Last autumn, Finland closed its border crossing with Russia in an attempt to prevent the flow of migrants from Russia. Between August and December last year, 1,300 asylum seekers arrived at its border with Russia. According to Prime Minister Petteri Orpo, the bill would allow the border guard to block entry for these migrants or deport them to a place where applications for international protection are accepted, such as safe third countries classified by EU states. The current Finnish government, mostly made up of right-wing parties, has stated that it wants to reform its immigration laws by making them stricter and matching those of Finland's Scandinavian neighbours. But compared to the rest of Europe, however, Finland receives significantly fewer asylum seekers per inhabitant. The law still needs to clear Parliament and will need 5 out of 6 votes to pass, which is a high bar, meaning that success on the bill passing is still not guaranteed. And finally, in some uplifting news, on Sunday, 90-year-old Ed Dwight flew to space in a Blue Origin rocket, becoming the oldest person to reach space, but more significantly, fulfilling something that began more than 60 years ago. Back in 1961, Air Force Captain Ed Dwight was selected by President John F. Kennedy to join astronaut training at the Aerospace Research Pilot School, putting him on course to be NASA's first black astronaut. But this didn't come to be, as he was controversially not selected to join the NASA Astronaut Corps. Following touchdown on Sunday, he said, "I thought I really didn't need this in my life, but now I need this in my life. I'm ecstatic. It was a life-changing experience. Everybody needs to do this." That's all for this video, but there's a whole world of TLDR content out there. You might not know it, but we actually have 5 different TLDR channels explaining news from the UK, Europe, and rest of the world, breaking down the latest developments in the business world, and also running through the day's most important news that you might have missed. TLDR has been doing this for more than 7 years now, so to celebrate our anniversary, we'd love it if you subscribed. Not only to this channel, but also to any others that interest you, and they're all linked in the description. Our whole purpose is to make the world around you more understandable, to unpack the confusing parts of the news in a way that's interesting, factual, and entirely non-partisan. So if that's something you're into, then you've got 5 channels to enjoy. Thanks for your support over the last 7 years, it really means a lot.